All right, up next, we have Khurram Malik. He is the VP of Product Marketing at Comscore, little company, you might have heard of them. He's going to be talking about the rise of the digital omnivore, and so without further ado, I will turn it over.
Thank you. All right. So most importantly, can you guys hear me? Okay. I haven't run an Ironman. My Ironman is raising 3 little boys, so that's enough for me. What I'm going to, this actually works out really well. You know, Alex has done a really nice job of the art of success, and what you're going to find is a little bit of a contrast in our presentations. Mine's going to be a little bit more science. Comscore, you'd expect some numbers, so there will be some numbers. But at the end of the day, being a great marketer, or in life in general, there's a mix of art and science. But before we start, and somebody who loves analytics, I like to survey the room. All right, so first question is, how many people in here own a tablet? Look around, look around. Okay. And, okay, 3 more. How many of you own a smartphone? All right. All right, 2 more. Of the people that own smartphones, which should almost be 100%, don't worry, if you don't own a smartphone, it's okay. It's all right. It's fine. You can still be smart. Could you tell me the iPhone owners? Who has an iPhone? Okay, and then put it down, Android. Okay. And then everybody else. Okay. So you don't have to raise your hand if you still use a BlackBerry or a feature phone or a Windows phone, my ex-employer. So I share that because the talk really today, and I'll skip through some stuff, is really going to be around being a digital omnivore and as a digital marketer, understanding where and when people are interacting with different content. And it's not just about the content medium, meaning is it video, is it web, but what is the device? And this really has implications around where to put your investment dollars. So we're going to go through a little journey around the world. So real quick, we'll talk about the big picture, the digital big picture. I'll hit web, mobile, touch on social, touch a little bit on this little company called Facebook, folks may have heard about. I'll talk a little about the digital omnivore, what that means. And then, you know, I've at the end what I call digital prescriptions, 3 pithy points that if you forget everything that I showed you, you could come back and say, okay, these 3 things do make sense. Very quickly, a very quick word from our sponsor. A lot of folks don't know much about Comscore. Most people know us for audience measurement. I think the one thing I want people to take away is Comscore has a lot of data, and we work with our data and our clients' data to maximize digital value. We're in the business of doing that. That's the only reason we exist. And very quickly, the reason we do that is so enterprises, agencies, publishers, and network operators can win with digital. This conference is about digital, and we believe that digital businesses have a faster speed. And what Comscore is all about is providing analytics for a digital world through audience, advertising, digital business, and mobile operator solutions. That's it. That's the word from our sponsor. So let's go into the big picture. So the world, interconnected. And one of the things you can see here is top 10 countries by unique visitors. So if you look at this, you know, what you'll see is that the U.S. and China, internet growth for unique visitors isn't growing that fast. Russia and India continue to grow. If you just take a look at the United States, you know, 220 plus million folks go out to the internet. Still growing. It's still growing, but it's single-digit growth. You can basically assume that, you know, folks are on the internet. And if you look at the average daily visitors, sort of 183 million people in the United States are going out and touching digital in some way, right? Pretty cool, even though it's single-digit. Now, there's this thing called Facebook out there, and people often ask us, what's the deal with Facebook and compared to some of the other social networking sites? Just take a look at this graph. What you'll see on the y-axis is percent of total time spent online. It's around 16% for social media. Look at Facebook. Facebook is almost all of it. It's like 14%. You're starting to see other players come into there. Twitter and Pinterest are starting to get into that space. But the main takeaway here is, hey, people are online, and all of a sudden there's this new medium called social media out there, and really Facebook is playing a very, very big role there. And I'll tie back to that, why that's important for digital marketers. Another important growth thing, these are US numbers. You'll probably see the rest of the world follow this, and some other countries actually, they're further ahead. But smartphones, over 100 million, probably more closer to 120, 130 by now in the US. Everybody has a smartphone. And if you talk to smartphone companies, the new frontier for them are 8 to 13-year-old segments, because they're saturation points with adults. In fact, how many people in here own more than one smartphone? All right, it's okay, be proud. You have the dual device, the encrypted one. So the big thing here is there's a switch happening. The switch is a majority of people in the United States and around the majority of the developed world are starting to have smartphones, computers in their pockets versus feature phones. And that means you now have the ability to reach somebody with a screen always on the move. Again, some more data that shows that. This is a little old, but the big thing as a digital marketer is to start to think about is, hey, smartphones are almost 50% in the US and in a lot of developed markets. That's only going to continue to grow. And as a marketer, you need to start to think about all the data that's being, I call, spewed out by this device, and all the time that people spend on this device. Very important. I'm sure people can read the bottom footnotes, but the main thing here is if people do ask us all the time, what are you guys seeing across the world in your network? What are you seeing with your partners in terms of which smartphone operating systems are doing well and why? Why does this matter to a marketer? I'll tell you, it matters because we have marketers and CMOs and VPs of digital all the way down the stack come to us and say, hey, I know I need to have a mobile app. I need to get to message to the market. I've got a certain audience I want to get to. Should I be investing in the Android platform, the Apple platform? Why? And if you look at this chart, it's pretty clear it's in Apple and Google world right now. Okay, this could change with Windows Phone launching and RIM giving its last hurrah next year. I think they're launching their new platform. But the game in smartphone OS share is Apple and Google. Another kind of important kind of data point as we kind of think about the digital world. If you think about people and what they do on digital, you can look at around 30 million people, say north of that, check Facebook or social media almost every day. And look at the monthly minutes on Facebook, starting to supplant the PC. So if you are, as a marketer, thinking about, hey, I just need to have a PC presence, especially on the consumer side, you're going to be missing out. I know this may not be news to a lot of folks, but I think it's always important to go through the hygiene of understanding the fundamentals about what's going on in the marketplace. And you probably saw over the past couple of weeks, Mark Zuckerberg has been talking a lot about reinventing Facebook to be a mobile company. And these are some of the reasons why. You know, a lot of folks often talk to us about, well, okay, mobility, it's rising, they're social. Does anybody buy anything? Did anybody do anything where I can get money from them besides advertising? And I'll tell you is mobile categories continue to grow. People are consuming content. They're buying. Online retail's big, payments, credit cards. So it's all the way across. You'll see video. It's growing. It's growing. My prediction is next year video will be even faster. And what's driving that? So if you think about the wireless networks, the speed that's getting, how many people have iPhone 5s? So this is my last question, I promise. Okay. Well, the LTE and 4G networks are allowing people to have that non-buffered experience. And that explosion is going to have content be distributed to smartphones very, very quickly. And that's a very important fact. As a marketer, a lot of people were constrained by display ads. Now you're thinking about, okay, can I offer video? as a mechanism to connect. And it's not about the browser anymore. So if people think that, hey, I just need to get I have a mobile website, m.theladders.com. I don't know if you do have one or not. I should know, but you may be missing a whole story. So let me explain this chart. So as a smartphone, you have kind of two choices to get to the digital world, right? You can click your browser, or you can click an app, right? And so what you can see here, take a look, for example, for Facebook. Facebook is showing a lot more app usage. That's the light pink thing versus browser. So most people are going to the Facebook app and getting to Facebook. But then if you flip it and if you go to, let's take example, what's a good one? Let's use Wikipedia. A lot of people are still using the browser. So what's the aha here? So as a marketer, knowing how your audience wants to consume your content should drive your investment decisions about, should I have a mobile website, yes or no? Should I have a mobile app, yes or no? What kind of mobile app should I have? Okay. I think a lot of us don't have unlimited resources, like Alex mentioned Google. Even Google's constrained. These are hard questions that we find CMOs asking. I don't have infinite resources. Should I be investing in browsers or apps? Why? And I always come back to say, well, who do you want to reach? What's the frequency you want to reach them? And what's the yield you want to extract? You'll hear that theme, reach, frequency, yield, reach, frequency, yield. Another quick one, the top apps reached by a unique visitor. So the short way to read this is, what are the apps that people most use on those platforms? And no surprise, on Apple's iOS, it's Apple iTunes. But look at the second one, Google Maps. What's happened? Why do you think Apple made that move, right? And if you look at Apple's new Maps application, if you try to search something in there, guess what comes up? It's not Google feedback, it's Yelp, right? It's Yelp. Again, I share this with you not to kind of throw random numbers. I want you to understand that there's a nuanced difference. So as a marketer, you have to start to appreciate why certain content wins on a certain platform versus others. I'm going to skip this one. This is kind of a repeat of the previous one. All right, another kind of important thing as a marketer to kind of keep in mind. Look at the tablet operating system household incomes. I think most people would hypothesize iOS buyers have higher income. We've got some kind of data to prove it. You'll see that high-income earners, potentially the ladder's target, are really very much in the iOS world. Amazon is quickly emerging. So if we think it's just an Android, Google-centric world, it's not. Amazon is quickly emerging, and so is the Kindle Fire. They're here to stay. At least my prediction is for the next couple of years. And if you're trying to reach that type of audience, you've got to consider them in your investments. Same thing, tablets. People love to buy stuff on tablets, all the way from daily deals to gift certificates. They're buying non-digital goods. And I'll show you guys a biorhythm later in the presentation, which shows you at what point during the day people are plopped up with their tablets versus when are they plopped up with their smartphones. Again, I always say, if you're as a digital marketer and you're thinking about how to reach an audience, I think it's important to know when that audience is actually consuming your content. Just touch on social media a little bit, and then I'll get into the digital omnivore. It's the #1 online activity today. It's what people love to do. I've heard, I've got data also. I've also talked to a lot of our wireless carrier clients. You can see between, depending on the wireless carrier, between 30 to 60% of wireless data traffic is Facebook traffic. It's between 30 to 50, 30 to 60%, depending on the carrier. The data network traffic is Facebook. Okay, and it varies by segment. But the point there is, I'm not trying to say it's a Facebook world. What I'm trying to get across is, I don't want people to take that away from the talk, but they're playing a very big role. And in fact, there might be people checking Facebook as we speak. I bet there are. 1 in 6 minutes online is social media, and Facebook's playing a big part. However, visitation to Facebook has grown, but it's starting to level out. Especially, I think this is, yeah, these are U.S. numbers. And the main reason why is this, everything has a saturation point. And what you'll see from the previous slide was that they're moving to smartphones. And so Facebook is facing this conundrum where their unique visitors are starting to flatten out. They're moving from PC to mobile traffic, and their business model could be affected, right? Because the ads that show up on a smartphone can be a lot, drive a different business model than PCs. Folks like to ask, where do men and women live in the social world? I think it's a good one to look at. If you look at this is Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook, and Pinterest. Dotted line is the kind of the index. And you'll see that, young males really love Twitter, Tumblr. Yeah, they like Facebook. Pinterest, not so much. Oh, what happens when you move to females? Yeah, Tumblr's still important. Facebook's there, but wow, Pinterest really is engaging people. I'll give you an example. My wife and I were thinking about redecorating or redoing our kitchen. I'm calling it redecorating. She's saying overhaul. There's a $sign difference between the two. And I think, oh, you just need to repaint. She's like, no, I'm going to rip out everything, new appliances. And she's on Pinterest, and she's getting ideas on Pinterest, and Pinterest is connected to Facebook. And the point here, again, going back to the digital omnivore is using tablets, smartphones, and the digital omnivore is going to different sites. And all audiences just are not the same. They're just not the same. Okay, so the digital omnivore, what does that mean? Just touching a little bit on what I just said, right? So mobile device usage is very key. There's some shared usage. Usage patterns are different by time of day. And Comscore, one of the things that we pride ourselves on is we take multiple angles to pay attention to what's happening in the world. We've got our metered panels. We've got millions of people that have opted in to share market research information with us. We have a census network which captures 1.3 trillion events monthly. And then very specific surveys that we do to keep a pulse on the digital omnivore. So let's continue this journey. Look at the growth rate of tablets compared to smartphones in the first couple of years. So you'll see years 1 through 10, smartphones, year 12 got to 100 million. Tablets will probably get there by year 5, 6. A lot of growth, right? A lot of growth. I think PC manufacturers see this and it scares them a little bit. As an ex-Microsoft employee, I would go, ooh. This is the chart that I really want folks to get their heads around. The numbers aren't even as important as the movement and the colors. What you're looking at is the volume of global page views on our network across device type. What you're going to see is about a year ago, it was 6% from non-PCs, which are smartphones and tablets. A year later, it's 10, and the curve is increasing. So next year, I don't want to totally predict, but this could easily be 15 to 18% and more. Okay, so this is it's for real. The phenomenon's here, and I think it's a digital. Yep. Others things like feature phones that are enabled to be able to browse the internet. Primarily, we've got some Xboxes, Wii's that browse other devices, things that most people don't use, but some people do. All right. So if you think about this, right, so let's just kind of go through an example. I think we almost had 100% penetration for tablets and smartphones here. And again, don't feel bad if you didn't have either one of those. It's okay. So you know, smartphones, what you're looking at is the usage pattern. So, from 12 a.m. to 7 a.m., smartphones are always on, but there's a decline in usage. All right, it's time to get up. It's 7 a.m. Everything turns on. People look at, PCs, smartphones, tablets. And then you hit the daytime hours. And it's all about the PC. People are doing things. They're researching. They're buying stuff. They're doing work stuff. You'll see that the smartphone consistently is on. People are using it, but the tablets really drop in usage. But look what happens after the kids go to sleep, happy hour's over, people have their TVs on, and the tablet usage takes off, which we're finding, and I have another study we're going to release in about 2 weeks. We'll show multi-platform across tablets and TVs and smart. What's happening is people are watching TVs, having the tablets in front of them. Okay, and it's such a phenomenon that some publishers are starting to build apps that go along with a TV show. Okay, anybody watch Monday Night Football? I think NBC has an right. You can watch multiple side cameras. You can watch the TV. A couple more things, and I'll try to land the plane here. So what you'll see here is tablets, both Apple, Google, Kindle Fire, primarily are used for personal use. Primarily, it's a personal device. It's consuming content, social media. People aren't really using it for business purposes yet. I've seen a lot of them in advertising agencies where you're going through creative materials, and there are roles to be played. But right now, tablets are all about personal use and consuming content. And I think if you are a believer in, well, I am. I love using Microsoft Office. I admit it. I use Excel. And it drives me crazy trying to do that on a tablet. Right? Has anyone tried to do something like that on a tablet? It's painful. A couple more things. If you think about tablets, oops, did I go back? Oh, sorry. A couple more things, and I'll kind of land the plane here. Kindle Fire folks love the price. Apple folks love the apps. And what we find in our research is people are discerning. People are actually picking these devices and platforms based on the app ecosystem. That sounds like for me, that's a kind of a techie word, but folks are like, I don't like the apps on this tablet. I like the apps on this tablet. And finally, people, not just devices, are multi-platform. And this chart, for me, when I first saw it, is kind of confusing. So let me make sure I kind of nail it. For iPad owners, 40% of them also own an iPhone. For Android tablet owners, 14% also own an iPhone. Meaning that if you're trying to reach an audience or a customer, they're going to have those two platforms. And you've got to decide at what point do you think they'll use them and what's the best way to get your message out. Okay? I'll skip that. I think people play games and play music all the time. So this talks a little bit about a lot of tablet owners love TV and video today. Folks, 20% watch it almost every day. 53% of them watch video in a given month. So the main take, this is going to change a lot. With Wi-Fi and LTE, you're going to have tablet owners consuming video more and more and more. So if you're thinking as a marketer of utilizing the video as a medium, start to think about tablets and potentially not just TV. Big takeaway here is smartphone owners make purchases 17, 20% of the time, 1 in 5. Tablet owners, 4 out of 10. So people, when they're on that tablet, they're sitting on that couch, they are ready to buy. They're consuming stuff. They're ready to make a larger decision. Okay, we've got a couple minutes left, but I know I threw a lot of numbers, and it was, I hope, a good compliment to Alex. He had a great a story about perseverance, and I wanted to kind of lay kind of the foundation of some of the science behind digital and the art and science together of this conference, hopefully, that you'll get, right? So I always like to kind of end a talk with just some of the basic things that I think sometimes the facts or the basics are easily lost. So the first one, if it wasn't clear yet, is the growth of social. But even at Comscore, we've got our marketing budget, and we use it very specifically to reach certain audiences. It's important to not just go crazy and say social is the new frontier, put everything into social. And even within social, there's nuances between who's on LinkedIn and what they do, and what's on Facebook and what's on Twitter. Are you trying to reach a business decision maker? Are you trying to reach technical decision maker? Are you just trying to reach a plain old consumer? Know that, and then I think it's better to go deeper, getting more reach and more frequency and more yield for a certain social channel than all certain social channels. How many people have gone to websites where you've got like 12 icons for social, and it's just like, oh my God, I get social stress. It's like maybe that's just me. I don't. So that's a very important one. So if you're thinking about investing in social, think about who you're trying to reach, what frequency you want to reach them, what's the yield you want, and try not to be all things to all people. You'll waste cycles. All right, so another one, mobile everywhere, not a drop to drink. This is an important one as well. It's be ready to invest in mobile. People will want to know, hey, do I do a smartphone app? Do I do a tablet app? Or should I just have a mobile website? Be selective about it. It's who am I trying to reach with what message, and maybe it's just go iOS, go full board Apple. But that's a very important point, who you're trying to reach and when. Just as important as social, but it keeps going back to that basic of reach, frequency, and yield. Reach, frequency, and yield. And I think the last one you'll have, I looked ahead to the schedule ahead, and you'll hear a lot of talk around analytics, and you'll hear a lot of people talking about it. A lot of people are familiar with the term web analytics and the science behind optimizing your website and the experience there and bounce rates and click-through rates and all that good stuff. What I'm here to tell you, it's becoming a multi-platform world. And what that means is the website is only one digital asset. You've got other things on your digital balance sheet as well. You have to convince your CFO of that. But so there's the website, but I'd say there's a social presence, there's a mobile presence. Some people have gaming, some people have videos. Have the right analytics in place to take care of those assets. Okay? A lot of people have only their website. That's okay. Just make sure you take care of it. Like any other asset, it will quickly atrophy. Anyway, so some digital prescriptions. So I'm going to kind of end with the digital omnivore is rising. It's happening in the U.S. Europe is behaving like the U.S., or is U.S. behaving like Europe? It depends who you ask. And it's a multi-platform world. And so as a marketer, if you think I just need to solve for iOS and Apple and I just need to take care of my website, that may be fine. Just realize you may be missing part of the pie. And so very, very important to keep that in your mind. I encourage folks that want to keep a pulse on some of the facts like that to follow us at Comscore. And we publish data gems daily. But I think that's all the time I had. I'm happy to take a couple questions if folks have them. Thank you.